And for a second I fought it, and then all of a sudden this peace came over me, and I just let go. And I found myself in this blue-black area. It was just all, I couldn't really, like swirling blue-black. And there was a presence, a very large presence in front of me, a bodiless presence, that said to me that you have done everything you came here to do in this lifetime, so you can leave. And this is what I wanted to do. I had 2 children, but at that moment, it was just like when you wake up in the morning from a dream. They were dream figures. They weren't for real. I mean, I had nothing to do with them or the world.
Elaine, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. It's great to have
Well,
you.
thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. So you had your NDE back 40 years ago.
Sure.
I'm going to give the floor to you. Let you tell us your story.
Okay. I was at a party. It was in the 80s, and I was hanging out in discos with people, and there were lots of drugs around. And I was at a party, and there was cocaine flowing. So I had done some at the party, and when the party was over, stupidly, I brought the man home who had the drugs. So we continued to do it at my house, and it never, ever once entered my mind that I could overdose. I never thought of it. I don't know why. It should have, it didn't. And I just kept doing it. All of a sudden, he just looked at me and said, "Oh my God, I'm in trouble." He grabbed his bag of drugs and ran out the door. And I got scared. And then I started shaking, and I shook for days. Um, I then, when I finally came down enough, which probably was like 2 days, when I should have called 911. I was embarrassed. I didn't, stupid. So at that point, I was finally able to lay down, and I thought maybe I can sleep. And as soon as I lay down, I got a really sharp pain in my heart. And for a second, I knew what was going on. And for a second, I fought it, and then all of a sudden, this peace came over me, and I just let go. And I found myself in this blue-black area. It was just all, I couldn't really, like swirling blue-black. And there was a presence, a very large presence in front of me, a bodiless presence, that said to me that you have done everything you came here to do in this lifetime, so you can leave. And this is what I wanted to do. I had 2 children, but at that moment, it was just like when you wake up in the morning from a dream. They were dream figures. They weren't for real. I mean, I had nothing to do with them or the world. It was just like, as I said, when you wake up from a dream in the morning, you don't, go running back into the dream to fix it. You just leave it and wake up. So then I was shown the world, and I was told that if I stayed back in the world, if I stayed in the world, that the results would be perfect peace in the world. So I was shown the world at perfect peace. It was just, I can't explain it. I could see the smallest, tiniest ant and the largest everything at the same time. There was no space or time. I could just see it all at the same time. So I really felt I didn't really have much of a choice. If we can have world peace, maybe I should go back in there. So I said I would go back, and then I was given a second opportunity. I was told the exact same thing again. I'm going to give you another chance. You can go back, but you can leave because you finished everything that you hadn't finished. Oh yeah, the other thing is that this presence said to me that I had started something in the world, and that if I went back, I could finish it, and that would be the result of the peace in the world. So when I was given the second chance, I once again said that I would go back. And at that moment, there were what felt like millions of presences behind me on my level. They seemed to be on the same level as me. And they were just dancing and whooping and hollering and so excited that I was going back to do what I had started. So I went back into my body. I literally bounced right off the bed. I mean, not off the bed, but like this on the bed when I went back into my body. And I was fine. And when I got up, I was fine. There was a little bit of cocaine on the table. I threw it away. And my life completely changed after that. that's when I met my husband. He's a minister of music at churches, so he was a nice little church boy. And I was not used to going out with nice little church boys. I was living kind of a wild life, and everything changed after that. It was funny. I never again saw cocaine. Never. It was never in my presence. I never saw it again. And I wasn't even addicted to it. It was just a party thing. I never bought it, or it was just, that's my story.
So that was the first and last time?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you make of the experience after you came out of it, before, it was life changing and things settled? What did you make, like, right after you came out of it on the bed? How did you feel?
Um, a little disappointed because I would have liked to have left. And then also relieved that I had two children, that I didn't leave them. Now that I'm back in the world, it felt like, again, I had two children.
Yeah.
So I was a little relieved that I didn't leave them. So that was my initial response. And I was surprised that I didn't have any after effects, that I felt fine. I just got up off the bed and I was fine.
But you were certain that you had left your body, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, you were certain that it wasn't a dream, is what I mean.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely. No, no. Because I felt, well, I did when I was leaving, I did see myself on the bed
Mhm.
for an instant.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it wasn't. I had just laid my head on the pillow when it happened.
And what were your beliefs before all of this happened, in terms of
Um, are you,
afterlife?
fam- are you familiar with the Course in Miracles? It's spiritual practice.
Okay.
So I was raised Catholic, but hadn't been a Catholic since I was a child. And I was at that time reading a lot of things like Seth and a lot of sort of New Age and philosophy. And so I was still kind of seeking at that point. I mean, I know that there's studies done that they say that it's just your mind is I don't know what words to use, but
Like,
but
lack
that
of oxygen to the brain and all that kind of
right,
stuff.
exactly, yeah. So I haven't made any final decisions. I have no idea. I don't know what happens after that. I do know that I was being drawn to go to leave.
Mhm.
I could feel like this pull to leave. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I normal. I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, not much. I put it that way. I probably less than normal.
Okay.
I could, because I have had some other experiences in my life, so that might be why.
Hmm. Do you want to talk about those, or is that something
Sure, if you
else?
want me
Okay.
to. I could
Sure.
start with my first one when I was 7 years old.
Please.
I
Yeah. Go
was,
ahead.
that's when I was a Catholic, and my mother there was a picture of the Virgin Mary hanging in my bedroom, this little picture. And my mother calls me into the living room. They had the TV on, and she says to me, she says, "Oh, look at that. In Rome, there's this same picture that you have hanging in your bedroom. There's a picture of the Virgin Mary crying." And it was one of those, I'm sure you've seen them on the news with its weeping. So now I'm terrified. I'm 7 years old. I do not want this picture to start weeping in the middle of the night. So every night before I go to bed, I take it and I'd hide it in my dresser under my stuff, and I'd shut. I didn't want to tell my mother because I knew she'd say, "Oh, that's silly." So I just kept hiding it every night. And then one night I could hear it. I was sure she was crying in my dresser. So I went out and told my mother I had a nightmare, and she says, "Well, you can go sleep in my bed." So I went in her room. As soon as I laid down, she had a crucifix on the wall opposite the bed. The crucifix, all of a sudden, this light came out of the crucifix. And I remember it lit up, and it was a white I've never seen before. It's not the white you see here, it's a different white. And it lit up the whole room, and she had a big window in her room. And all I kept thinking is, I wonder what the neighbors are thinking, seeing this white light, if they can see it. So then this sort of shadowy figure formed, and it was what I believed to be Jesus. It came in a form that I would understand and recognize. And he sat on the bed next to me, and he stroked my head, and he told me never to be afraid, that he loved me and he'd always take care of me. And after that, he had his arms around me, And I don't know what happened for a long time. I mean, I know time had passed and I feel like we went somewhere or something happened. And then after that, he said it again at the end. He said, "Don't be afraid. I love you and I'll always take care of you." And he just went back up into the crucifix. The light stayed for quite a long time. And then, and I felt, and I was a very fearful child. I was loaded with fear. It wasn't a great house I was growing up in. And I was very fearful. And for the longest time, I had no fear. I was comfortable, and so that was one.
Yeah.
But just that picture, and I was full of fear,
Mm.
So I was afraid of a miracle, and then I got, which I guess you could call a miracle.
Yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
So
That's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. So I didn't have a lot of fear of death,
Mhm.
and now I have none. Now I would just love to leave. I'm 74. I'm ready.
Are you?
Oh God, yeah. I'm so ready to get out of here.
Oh.
And I'm
I mean,
not
I
unhappy.
can relate, and it kind of saddens me at the same time, you know?
Yeah, well, and my life is good. I mean, I'm happy. My life is good, but I feel like I've done everything, but I guess I haven't because I wouldn't be here. Oh, that was the other thing too with my near-death experience, is that I said that I would stay, but only until I did that. And as soon as I did what I finished, what I started to do, I wanted out. That was it. And so I'm assuming I still have whatever it is I haven't finished yet because I'm still here.
Do you ever find yourself sitting wondering what that is?
Oh, many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well, at first when it happened, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I'm like, I just thought I was going to perform some kind of big miracle, that I was Jesus. Is that going to be okay? The ringing.
Right.
At first, I thought that I was going to perform some great miracle and just, wave my hands and the world would be at peace. And I was just going to do this grandiose thing. As I'd gotten older, I realized that it was talking about my little tiny corner of the world. You know, it was going to be that I could bring peace. It maybe just even meant peace in my own mind, that I could see the world from a peaceful place, no matter what's going on. I could
Yeah.
still be at a place of peace. And that's kind of where I feel it is now. It's just helped so many people with my story that are dying. I
Exactly.
just, to hear that,
Yeah. Just imagine how many people you have cured from their fears, or at
um,
least put them on the
and
right path.
it's funny, most people I talk to aren't afraid of what's afterwards. They're afraid of dying,
Yeah.
the actual act of dying, that they're going to suffer. And the thing is we've all heard about that letting go, and this is a part of you that just says, okay, yeah, okay, I'll do it. and
Mhm.
and it really is a letting go.
Yeah.
This was one in meditation. I mentioned A Course in Miracles, and it's a came from a woman psychologist. She was at Columbia University, and she started hearing this voice in her head that kept saying, "This is A Course in Miracles. Please take notes." And she ignored it. She was a psychologist. She didn't believe in voices in your heads. If you have voices in your head, you're crazy. So she just kept trying to push it away. And finally, her partner said to her, "Well, maybe you should just write it down. If it's crazy, we'll look at it together. We'll throw it away." Well, it wasn't crazy, and so the course is supposedly the voice is Jesus. Now, he never says he's Jesus, but he kind of alludes to it. And I realize that it's just an energy, but you have to put a name on it, or you have to label it something. So anyway, I was practicing this and teaching it and living it, and I just never could completely trust it, or trust even the voice. And just, if I could trust it, I would live my life in perfect peace, what it was teaching. But so one day when I was meditating, I asked the voice, I said, "Please tell me why I can't trust you." And it was one of those times, I mean, I'm sure you've had the experience where when you ask for something, you really mean it. There's a difference between asking and, I mean, really asking. And I just went with it. And normally I think I would kick myself out of the meditation because I kind of get scared when I start going that deep. So I went really, really deep, and I found myself, all I could see were my hands and my feet out like this. And I knew right away I was on the cross. I was Jesus on the cross. The voice was right here. And I said to him, why am I not feeling any pain? And he said, because in this state, pain is irrelevant, which was a funny word for me because if I was making, I would never have used the word irrelevant. So it was just right there, kind of rang true to me because that's not a word I would have picked to use. And it's a word I probably never used in my life up to that point. And then, and oh, the experience was, it was sort of like the same thing. There were people below, I could hear them and like sense them, but the same thing like my near death experience, it had nothing to do with me. That world down there, I was so distant from it. And the other thing that struck me as really funny when I was there is that my attitude, what you asked me in the near death experience was something different than I thought. What was different with this is that I would have thought there'd be harps playing and angels singing. I was up there. I was like, la di da di da di da. It was like another day hanging on the cross. There was nothing special about it. And even Jesus, there was nothing special about him either. It was just, a lesson. And let's see, after that, then he gave me all kinds of instructions about forgiveness. Then my arrogance, I said, yeah, 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 yeah. I like dismissed it. Yeah, yeah, I know I'm supposed to forgive. Yeah. So I didn't really listen to what he said, which shows you how arrogant we can be. And then I just came back, but that probably has affected me more than the near death experience or anything, because hearing that pain is irrelevant in this state, that was major for me.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
interesting. Wow. Were you when you meditate, are you lying down, sitting, lotus? What do you do?
I stopped meditating after. Do I never meditated after that day?
Oh, okay.
That was a good 15 years ago. Never meditated again. I felt as though I was meditating to escape.
Yeah.
It was like a drug. I used it like a drug.
Mm.
I would meditate to just get high. And I feel that I'm here in the world. I came back into the world, so why am I doing this to escape it when my lessons are here?
Hmm.
And it was and it's nothing he said or I heard or anything else, but as soon as that experience was over, that's how I felt. And I never meditated again.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective. I find that like when I meditate, I do it pretty well. It's just I feel the connection. I feel a very strong connection to my experience here and to the universe. But I also find that I when I'm seeking guidance, it usually comes pretty clearly when I'm meditating.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's interesting that you say you were using it as an escape because meditations, as you know, can be very, very powerful. So I could see
Mhm.
why it could be perceived as an escape or used as an escape. Definitely.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most definitely. But
yeah.
I
Because I
also
go
feel
off
that
and
it could be very beneficial and used for other things as well. For it depends on the person, I guess.
right, right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think I probably would go back to it, but it took me so long to get to that. You know how that is, and it's a daily practice. It took me
Mhm.
so long to get to that point that anytime I tried to start over again, it seemed overwhelming to
Mhm.
do it again. And another thing is too, when I say I was using it as an escape, my life was miserable. I mean, I was working a job that I absolutely hated. I didn't have the skill for it. I would have to go in every day feeling as though I couldn't do the job and I was trying to fake my way through it.
Mhm.
I was not happy.
That's not fun. Mhm.
So it was escaping at that point. I would meditate an hour in the morning before I went just to work so I could get myself in the right frame of mind just to get dressed and go.
Mhm.
And then after that, at night, I would meditate again for an hour. But my life is good today. I just feel like I don't need it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
well, that's fair.
I can't tell you the level of excitement. It's nothing like I've seen here. I mean, it was like you would have thought, I don't know, it was just, you would have thought I was coming here to save the world.
When was the first time you actually spoke out about it?
Oh, right away,
Oh yeah.
right away. Yeah.
To
I,
who?
I, I always find it amazing that people who don't talk about their near-death experience till years later, I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I've never had anyone say to me, oh, that's not true, or I've never had anyone not believe me. I mean, everyone I've told just thought it was kind of awesome. And, you know,
Yeah.
so I don't know why
That's because
the
of the way you
weight.
tell it, though. That's the way you tell it.
Others who have had near death experience saying that unless you've gone into the light, it's not a real near death experience.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know how true that is and who gets to decide that. To
Yeah,
me,
I don't think so. That's
yeah, I
just
don't
humble
either. Yeah.
opinion. No.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, and this is going to sound a little arrogant, but I always kind of felt like, well, I didn't need to be shown the light because I already know it's there. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
felt I didn't have to go that far. I mean,
That's
you know,
like saying
all this,
everyone on Earth has to have the exact same day to day,
right.
Monday to
Yeah. Right.
Friday. I mean, we're
Yeah.
all different. We're all gonna have different experiences here or
Right.
there.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
that's it. Even here, I've just
Mm.
had so many, um, as I said, I mean, I gave you my three big mystical experience, but I've had tons of them and just little things, and I guess I'm willing to do it here. And I think that experience that I had when I was a child, I have never been, I guess I haven't been afraid of death because of that. Now that, and that's the whole thing is that I felt I didn't, I felt I didn't, when I talk about it, I think I didn't need to go into the light because I already knew it was a beautiful, peaceful place. So I didn't need to be shown that. And that's
Mhm.
just my own opinion.
And thank you so much for being on and sharing your
Well,
experience.
thank you. This was fun. And I love getting my story out.
I'm really glad about that.
Yeah.
So you take care. Have a great night.
You too. Bye
Thank
bye
you
now.
so much. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome.